First Sam.
NANI?お前、これは。
So, hi guys. So this will be the continuation of the biological side in explaining crime. How does crime happen? So, evolutionary theory. Aggression and violent behavior as positive adaptive behavior existed ever since, which is now carried in our gene pool. Kasi noon, we rely much on our aggression and our violent behavior to conquer lands, ano pa, to parang to survive and to gather more resources. Yung ancestors natin is they are very aggressive and they're violent behavior. Nakikita na naman sa movies na yung mga primitive, yung mga hindi pa na-evolve na mga tao, ganun. Or yung the people of the past, especially yung mga tribes noon, they are more aggressive and violent. Which, dahil as time goes by, yung trait na yun, nasa genes na, and we are now, parang merong na tayong ganun na aggressive na genes or criminal genes. Ganun na crime happens because of that gene na aggressive personality. So, parang ganun yung short description sa evolutionary theory. So, under the evolutionary theory, meron yung cheater theory. So, according daw dito, may mga male talaga na cheater daw. So, mga male daw is described as extremely low parental involvement. So, hindi sila pinalagaan ng family nila. And they have high libido. Sexual libido. Sexually aggressive. So, they use yung deception to catch females or to mamingwit ng mga babae. Kasi kapag they will not use it, females don't like them. So, yun yung ginagawa nila. So, siguro. And RNK selection theory. RNK describe people as having R-oriented people and having K-oriented people. So, crime happens because there are more R-oriented people. So, sabi dito, they reproduce rapidly. So, marami sila. And they do not invest or they do not take care of their offspring, yung mga bata. And are more cunning and deception. Manloloko sila. So, sa mga K-oriented people naman, they reproduce slowly and cautiously take care in the raising of their offspring. And are more cooperative and sensitive to others. Yun is about evolutionary theory. So, let's now go to the arousal theory. So, yung theory nito is what is the relationship between brain arousal level and criminality. So, mental and psychological arousal level, hindi siya sexual arousal or pwede rin, or as a whole na to. So, sabi dito, extremely low level of arousal will engage in activities that will increase his arousal level. So, especially yung mga easily bored na tao. So, sabi daw dito sa theory na to is, they are more prone to commit crimes or engage in thrilling activities in order for their arousal level to rise up. Sabi pa dito, those who require more stimulation may act in an aggressive manner to meet their needs. So, ganun. Parang low pa lang, yung parang easily bored na mga tao. Or they have, parang yung maarte. Ay, hindi, yung maarte. Basta yung easily bored, yung hindi siya masyadong nai-impress, ganun. Basta low level yung arousal nila. They are more prone to commit crime because crime is a thrilling activity. So, example of this are the adolescents, diba? Describe adolescents as they get easily bored kahit lang nasa bahay sila, kaya they will go outside every time, yung parang gumagala sila palagi or nag-escape during the night. So, adolescents may engage in such crimes such as shoplifting, vandalism simply because they offer attraction, getting away with it. It explained that adolescents with low heart rates are more likely to commit crimes as they seek stimulation to increase their arousal levels to normal levels. So, if you have low arousal level, you have also a low heart rates. So, yun lang tayo sa arousal level. So, let's now go to the life force theory by Sheldon and Eleanor Glueck. So, I don't know bakit nilagay ng author to. Hindi naman siya biological. So, sabi daw sa life force that immaturity in response to his life transition one of the reason why crime happens, or the theory mainly emphasizes that disruption in life's major transition can be destructive and ultimately can promote criminality. So, ano kaya ang life transition? So, life transition is yung mga parang levels ng life mo na dapat mong pagdadaanan mo. For example, elementary, high school, college, yung pagiging young adult mo, pagiging parents mo, ganun ang mga life transition. So, if, for example, ayun, pupunta ka na sa college, if hindi mo na-meet ang mga life skills tulad ng social interaction or yung pakikisama, tendency is that you will commit a crime din dun. So, may mga classmate ako actually na dahil immature sila na parang nung papunta ng college, they don't know how to social interact, or they do not have the self-control na dapat meron ka, na dapat may self-control ka at least medium level na self-control pag papunta ka ng college, lalo na pag pupunta ka sa ibang place kasi there are many temptations. So, this classmate of mine is nag-engage siya sa drugs, sa mga status offenses, tulad ng ginagawa ng mga juvenile delinquent. Ganun. So, what I'm trying to say is that certain life transition requires parang life skills na if you do not have this life skill, tendency is that you will commit a crime because of that. So, siguro may mga classmate na rin kayo na ganun na nung elementary, good boy yan. Pero after how many years? After 10 years, 20 years, nalaman mo na lang na nasa piitan. So, ayun. Underdeveloped life skills may lead to crime. Kaya nga nilagay dito is immaturity. So, yun lang yung life course by Glowick. So, punta na tayo sa latent trait theory. So, physical or mental traits, these are yung inherited traits yung nasa genes natin in our parents, are one of part of a large pool of environmental, social, personal factors that account for criminality. Or in short, they share mo, parang they can be a factor for you being a criminal. So, yung psychopathic personality, you may inherit that. And it can be you may inherit that and you can be a psychopath, you can be a criminal because of that. So ano yung mga trait na parang medyo nalilink sa criminality. So dito, defective intelligence, impulsive personality, genetic abnormalities, the physical chemical functioning of the brain, and environmental influences on brain functions such as drugs, chemicals, and injuries make some people delinquency prone over the life course. So height and hindi lang actually yung mga inherited traits tulad ng mga ito, defective intelligence, passive personality, pero there is also the role of your environment. If your environment is good, it may suppress yung mga masasamang personality mo. It may change you. Pero if it encourages or mga BI yung mga friends mo, ganun, it may parang highlight yung mga masasamang trait mo. So, ganun lang yung sa latent trait theory. Also, punta tayo sa family studies. So, dito, actually, through this study, naproprove ang existent ng criminal gene na yan. So, Richard Dugdale and the study of Estabrook, yung Joke family tree. So, yung Ada-Joke family tree, wherein the Ada-Joke is the mother of mother of criminals, and sa family ni Kalikak by Henry Goddard. So dito, they had parang a longitudinal study on this family tree. So Ada-Joke is an illegitimate child which she became a criminal, and her offspring became criminal as also. Same is true with Kalikak family. Ano yung what they have learned sa pag-study nito, especially kay Mr. Dugdale. So the burden of crime is found in the illegitimate line. So mostly yung mga talagang mga criminals sa family tree ni Ada-Joke and Kalikak is nagmula sa illegitimate. Yung si Ada nga is illegitimate siya na child. So the legitimate lines marry into crime. So yung mga legitimate naman is they have the tendency to become not a criminal, to become legitimate, pero dahil due to environment or due to, for example, they married a criminal, high criminal tendency in tao, is they became criminal also. The eldest child has a tendency to be criminal of the family. So sa mga panganay dyan, tingnan mo, crime chiefly follows the make line. So yung make line is yung family tree, yung pinagmulan mo. So parang the fruit of the poisonous tree, ganun. The longest lines of crime are along the line of the oldest. So yung parang, for example, yung eldest nanganak naging criminal, yung anak ng anak niya naging criminal, naging anak ng anak niya naging criminal. Yung second naman is parang naging criminal yung anak niya, pero yung anak ng anak niya hindi nag-criminal. So sa eldest talaga makikita kung makakontinue ba yung line of criminal sa family studies. So basahin niyo yung ilalagay ko sa Google Class. Parang short lang to na description sa family studies. So yun lang. So matatyping theory. So sa ano ang relationship ng body type mo, yung pangangatawan mo sa criminality. So there is actually, so matatyping. So Ernst Kretschmer, William Sheldon, and yung Loeck siblings have studied it. So si Ernst Kretschmer, meron yung tinatawag niyang picnic type. They are more prone to manic depression. Manic depression is like a disorder, mental disorder. Basahin niyo sa book, meron yan. Yung mga athletic and asthenics have mostly schizophrenia. Meron naman yung mixed and is plastic. William Sheldon, meron yung endomorph, yung medyo matataba. Yung mesomorph, yung may muscular, and ectomorph. And as confirmed by Loeck siblings, sinasabi niya na yung mga mesomorphic and yung mga ectomorph, yung medyo mga payat at malalaki, are the most juvenile delinquent. So if you could read yung nilagay ko sa Google Class, meron na doon yung kung ano yung itsura ng picnic type, athletic, asthenic, and etc. etc. So mostly daw yung mga criminals are yung actually in-study niya yan sa juvenile detention home, which they saw that mesomorphic type and ectomorphic type are mostly the juvenile delinquent ones by the Loeck. So family name yan. And kay Ernst Houghton. So he was inspired by Cesar Lombroso's work on yung may physical feature daw ang criminal. So sabi niya dito, he claims that criminals have inferior characteristics. He classified into sociological, psychological, physical, pharmacological, and pathological. So yung ano yung mga inferior characteristics ng mga criminal, sabi ni Houghton. So they are often married and less often married and more often divorced. So yung mga divorced, mostly criminals daw are divorced. Most criminals daw have tattoos. Most criminals daw have thinner beards and body. Sabi pa niya, tall slender men, they're more to murder and robbery. Tall medium heavy men, forgery, and etc. etc. So parang he followed the works of Cesar Lombroso on yung atavism, wherein atavism is there is certain physical characteristics that can be observed ang isang criminal. So yun, and he found out daw na ganun. Pero I don't know if it's true. So let's now go to physiognomy. So physiognomy, ano ang relationship? May relationship pa yung pagmumuka sa krimen? Ganun ba? So Giambattista de la Porta founded it. He claims that if you have a large lip, you can magnanakaw ka. And sharp vision, pag you have a large lip and sharp yung vision mo, magnanakaw ka. And it is also correlated with yung study ni Lombroso, yung physical feature na if you have a huge jaw and strong yung canine teeth mo, ito, then you are a criminal daw, or most likely you are a criminal which is yung parang sinasabi ni Guillaume Batista de la Porta is siguro daw may pagmumukha ang isang rapist. What? Parang there is a relationship between the face and a certain crime or being a criminal. Parang ganun. So may pagmumukha pala ang mga criminals. And Johann Caspar Lavater revived the work of Porta. So that's all about physiognomy. Actually, marami man sa internet. If you're interested, you search the word physiognomy. So let's now go to phrenology. What is the relationship of yung shape or how your skull has formed into criminality, or how does your skull conform, or how does its shape to you? Ano kaya yung mental faculties mo or character mo? So proponents nito is Franz Joseph Gall, Johann Caspar Spierzing, George Combe, and reintroduce ni Lorenzo Niles Fowler, and in the US si Charles. So ano yung basic tenets ng phrenology or yung sa Gall system? So the brain is the organ of the mind. The mind is composed of multiple innate faculties. So iba-iba daw yung sa every part of the brain, may iba-iba yung kinokontrol niyang function sa body natin. And because iba-iba sila, each faculty must have a separate seat or organ in the brain. So dahil iba-iba daw yung parang part, or iba-iba yung parang kinokontrol ng brain, so in each side, iba-iba din. So for example, dito sa sa front brain, kinokontrol na yung somewhat yung legs mo, ganun, or yung mood mo. Pero hindi naman, pero example lang. So the size of an organ, other things being equal, is measure of its power. So siguro let's continue. The shape of the brain is determined by the development of various organs. So since iba-iba yung kinokontrol ng brain, is kung siguro kung mabait ka daw, lalaki yung parang brain mo dito sa sa back portion ng head mo, wherein yung ulo mo is parang siya yung mag-a-adjust sa shape ng part ng brain na yun. And as the skull takes its shape from the brain, the surface of the skull can be read as an accurate index of psychological aptitude and tendencies. So for example, ano kaya? So yung pagiging mabait, for example, is kapag maliit yung skull mo dito, maliit, parang naganon yung skull mo dito, flat siya, hindi siya nagganon, edi hindi ka daw mabait. So yun yung sinasabi ng phrenology, that through the shape of your skull, they can determine kung which part of the brain it's underdeveloped, or which function or the faculty of the brain is underdeveloped, and they may use that as a reference to see if ano yung underdeveloped na characteristics mo. So ganun, very somewhat bewildering, very weird. So yun, siguro kapag maliit yung brain mo, maliit yung skull mo, they will say that you have low IQ and you're criminal prone. Siguro ganun. I-send ko yung mga description ng book tungkol dyan. So basta, if we are talking about phrenology, ano yung relationship ng shape ng skull mo sa kung ano kang tao. Parang ganun. So let's now go to nature theory. So bakit nature theory yung tawag dito? Ewan ko kay Mr. Canio. Ayun, pangalinan. Ayun, pangaling. Cares. So low intelligence daw is genetically determined and inherited. So ang kagalingan mo daw is namamana mo sa parents mo, or etc. Hindi mo nakukuha yan sa environment. Yun yung sabi niya. And if you read yung ilalagay ko sa Google Class niyo, low intelligence is indicative of criminal behavior. So sabi ni Goddard, yung mga institutionalized people, or what he considered feeble-minded, and concluded that yung mga institutionalized people is yung mga nasa kulungan. and concluded that at least half of all juvenile delinquents are mentally defective. Sinasabi niya daw na they don't have, hindi sila, for example, they don't have the average intelligence or yung, ano ba yun, yung IQ level nila is below average. So, at least half, sabi niya. Siguro 48-45% ganun. And according to Healy and Bronner, 37% of delinquents were subnormal in intelligence. 37% naman kay kina Bronner and Healy sa study nila. And they say that kapag ba that delinquent boys were 5 to 10 times more likely to be mentally deficient than dutiful boys. So, ganun. So, yun. Yun lang. And I will continue the discussion on ibang perspective naman. Tapos na tayo sa biological perspective. And I encourage you to read and self-discover sa internet. I-google nyo yung mga sinasabi ko dito kasi summary lang yung sinasabi ko. Maraming mga theories or maraming researches ang mga sinasabi kong mga theories which proves that theories, and it's very very interesting if you are interested as well. So, ganun. So, yun lang and bye.